All right, guys, today I have Tim Andrews on the podcast. He's the founder and operator of Invader Concepts, a holster company, the chest holster that you see me wearing quite often for bear defense, just kind of everyday carry in terms of the backcountry when I'm backpacking. That is one of their holsters. I have worn a chest holster under my Bino harness for many years, particularly when I'm in bear country. We talk about bear defense, and then we talk about the different ways you can actually hold a pistol while you're in the backcountry, while you're backpack hunting. Under the Bino harness isn't the only way. We talk about under the harness, attached to the harness, or should I say below the harness or attached to the harness. I've done all that. I've got my own opinion on it. Tim has his own opinion about it. We talk about all of that, all the options. We talk about putting it on your actual waist belt of your backpack, the pros and cons. We dive kind of nerd deep in all that stuff. We also talk about cartridges, revolvers for semi-autos, for bear defense, for just defense in general. We get into all that stuff. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. All right, Tim, great to have you, dude. I have seen this insane trend in terms of holsters in the backcountry. And I was just talking to Austin, who works with you over there at Invader Concepts, about it, like 10 years ago in all my hunting clientele. And this was across, like, even in areas in British Columbia where we were going to see grizzlies like every day. Even amongst that clientele and then my clientele in the western states, the whole bear thing, the whole carrying pistols, it wasn't like a top question. Um, but now, amongst the like guys who watch my YouTube content, my current clientele, uh, it's probably one of the top like 6 or 7 questions guys ask me. Like, hey, how are you carrying a pistol? What are you carrying? What products do you recommend? Those sort of things. And that's kind of what I want to dive in first. Do you have any thoughts on why that is, Tim? Like, what are your feelings? Like, why is it all of a sudden seem to be in the front of guys' minds?
I think it's a lot of the increase. It seems like there's been an increase over the last half a decade of encounters with dangerous wildlife, which is the reason why I developed the products to begin with. I think that's a big part of it, and then just the more people talking about it creates the awareness to individuals to be thinking about other aspects that they likely weren't thinking about before. So I think it's a combination of those two things, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that. The thing that's interesting about like the whole Western state grizzly deal, like the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, and then beyond as grizzlies have spread a bit. It's funny, Tim, because I have, in my world, I interact with all these guides, right? And guides tend to be maybe a little bit more comfortable in like this environment or that environment just because they're there all the time, right? And I don't remember those guys being all that concerned about grizzlies. But nowadays, when I talk to guys, like I'll talk to guys that I consider very competent guys, and they're like, dude, it's getting where it really sucks. You know what I mean? Like it's not. It maybe some places there's more density, that sort of thing, but it's almost like they're more fearful of them, and it just has to do with I think they're more dangerous in a lot of spots because they haven't been hunted, and now they're just getting more and more established. But anyways, what have you seen trend wise, in terms of like how guys are carrying pistols?
I've seen multiple things. So a big trend now is a chest holster carry, which is what we're known for. You've got chest holster, and then you've got like a lot of people like to put it on like their pack belts. I've seen a lot of that. So basically, something that of chest variation doesn't really matter how they're mounting it. That's what they're really going for, is having it readily accessible on your chest. Chest makes sense because it's the most accessible portion on your body, more or less, when you're carrying all your gear. A lot of guys will run pack belts with pistol in the pack belt. Doesn't really work that well, but you got those two scenarios.
Yeah, so that's what I see, man. Like I mean, I've flipped between all three. Um, in my early iteration of what I used to carry, Tim, is I used to carry just I can't remember what they're called, man. But I just use like a normal belt holster, and then it'd have oh, there's a term for it, but like a quick like molly attachment
Yeah,
on the back, and so I could put it on my belt, and then when I set my pack down, I could take it and put it on my actual, on my pants or whatever,
yeah.
so I was never leaving. What's that?
Which you don't do.
Exactly. That's what I was
Yeah,
gonna get at,
that,
dude.
that's what if I can interject, that's what a big issue. It's a communication thing I have to have with our customers and our clientele. Is a lot of people want that multiple use product, that versatility. But at the end of the day, that only works for certain scenarios. At the end of the day, you really need a product that solves a problem for you and solves that alone. It doesn't try to. You don't need to try and create different scenarios where you can manipulate that product or service to do something else. Why don't we just kick some serious butt and nail the coffin shut on a perfect product for one use, and it works as it should for that, where it carries, what it's for, what it's supposed to do. Just nail that tight, let it be. If you want to get a hip holster, get a separate holster, because like we usually don't take and flip flop. We like the
Okay.
idea as humans of versatility and we can do this. It's like the multi tool thing. It's like the Swiss Army knife. Those are great. They do everything okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a tool does that one thing, that one task great. You know, the crescent wrench does okay, but you strip out a lot of bolts of the crescent wrench. Why don't you use the box end of an end wrench and get it done right?
Yeah, dude, I think you're commenting on something like that's just among. It's not even like just a hunter thing or firearm guy thing. It's a human nature thing, dude.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah,
like it's just like theoretical, and I'm just laughing in my head, dude, because I've done the exact thing you're talking about. I'm
yeah. We
like,
all do.
okay, yeah, I'm like, all right, well, I don't like it. I don't like it on my chest. I don't like it on my harness because I've already got too much weight. I'm gonna put it on my belt because that's where I'm used to drawing a pistol, and then I'm gonna have it where I can take it from my belt to my pants, and then I'll also throw a magnet on there or something so I could stick it in my truck, and it all makes theoretical sense, and then when you're actually doing it, you're like, I feel like a fucking idiot right now because none of like it's all a pain in the ass, and you got the guns like flop. The worst part, Tim, is like you it, having, and I see guys have it on their backpack belts now, and I know where they're coming from, but you watch them, and that gun is just constantly flop. People don't realize like how much that pistol flops around too. Like you're just beating the shit. I mean, outside of like a potential of like a safety thing or whatever, I think if you got a good holster and stuff, that's probably not actually a huge factor. But you got that gun on your backpack belt, and so when you swing that backpack off, a 2 pound brick is flying through the air and hitting whatever. you know
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like how many times have you been in the woods and you've had to go through dense brush
yeah,
or you've had to crawl? Like we've all had to do it. And I don't
sure.
know how many people have been like, we've gotten quotes from or stories from where they lost their pistol
Oh yeah.
because it was on their pack belt or it was in an Uncle Mike's holster. No offense to Uncle Mike's, and it just doesn't do justice on what you need it to do. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then the other component that you alluded to is you set them down. You set them down, and then you never actually take them off and take them with you. So you end up without your pistol a lot.
yep,
You know.
yep.
Um,
It's pretty simple. It's just it's an education thing, in my opinion. It's not necessarily like trying to sell something or its features. You just got to pose the question, uh, challenging someone's thought process.
yeah, yeah,
It's like, why are you doing this? And obviously, you try and do it not aggressively as possible, but it's like, why are you doing this way? Why are you stuck in this lane? Have you thought about the cons here? I get why you put on the pack. It solves issues. It solves some issues for you. But what issues have now been created by that? And it's just
yeah,
creating. It's just asking the question to help drive a different avenue of the thought process to benefit you. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's for.
sure.
You're carrying that gun for a reason. You have reasons to believe that you could run into a threat, whether that's a two-legged thing or a four-legged thing.
Sure.
And if you're having that premonition of that problem, potential problem, let's make sure it's accessible. Let's make sure we can get to it. Let's make sure it's secure, et cetera, et cetera. Well, when we do that, we try to ask the question, okay, well, if we put on our pack, what's the benefits of that? Well, it's out of the way of my Bino harness. Cool, check, got that. Can you access it? Because I don't know about you, but a holster on the pack belt,
Yeah.
accessing it is a pain.
Yeah,
And
you mean just like it's between like a water bottle carrier or
yeah,
a pouch or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's really hiked up. And it's like for me, I've got 17-foot long arms, so it's like I got to be up here and get back
sure.
and down to get it. It just don't work, and I think that's
Dude,
pretty big.
so Tim, I think that's actually an interesting one. Well, here, dude, let me just so we don't get ahead of ourselves. I want to make sure people kind of understand because some people may not be familiar with like the chest holster. So this will be the guys that are listening to this, they're not gonna be able to see it. So what we're talking about is this is your primary product, right? And this is what do you guys call it? The Recon?
This is a recon, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been wearing like a variation of this, other companies too for like a decade, right? So like I'm used to, and I carry it here under my Bino harness. What we're talking about is that versus on the belt of like your pack, your backpacking pack, your day pack. Like all hunting packs have a waist belt on them. I just want to make sure people understand what we're talking about, Tim. So the one rebuttal that I get a lot on this is that, well, if you move to a chest holster, and I don't know if this is like theoretical or people are serious about it because they've been, they carry a lot, like concealed carry or whatever, or maybe they're just thinking that they want to or whatever, but always it comes up, well, I want it on my belt because I'm used to drawing from my belt, and drawing from my chest is a whole lot different. It means that I have to train like a new way. Do you have thoughts on that?
There's a legitimate question, and I understand that. I'm going to go back to what I said previously on asking a question on our processes and our thought process. Uh, I get why we would want to hear that. We're creatures of habit. We want things consistent. We want things in the same place, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, we got to ask the question: can we access it? Is it benefiting me in the overall good of what I'm trying to accomplish? And if the answer is no, then we need to reassess and train ourselves if necessary. It's like learning a new skill.
Right.
Um, but what we've learned is like, even for me, it's like it's really not a learning curve. If it is, it's I really don't think it is, because if you've never, I suppose it could be a learning curve if you are used to it being on the hip. So you're
Like
naturally,
if you actually are carrying it a whole, I think that's
yeah,
the question though, Tim. Like, how many guys are actually like how many guys have 500 hours of drawing a pistol from their hip? I
yeah,
mean,
no, I see what you're getting at, and that just goes back to the question. Okay, well, if I got to train a little bit, then just do so.
yeah, yeah. Dude, I think you brought up, I mean, what made me think about it, Tim, you brought up something that I noticed early on, and that's that if you're wearing a hunting backpack correctly, you're still like apples to oranges, right? Like if you're carrying your pistol on your belt, like walking around or even inside the waist belt or whatever, but on your side, it's still different than carrying it on a hunting backpack, because your hunting backpack belt is going to be like mid. It's like if you're wearing your pack right, it's like mid hip. Does that make sense? Or mid hip bone,
Yep.
So
Yeah, it
it's
just goes back
way.
to like you have such a longer draw stroke. You've got a lot. You got to bring your hand up significantly higher, probably at least 6 inches, half a foot. You got to come up that much farther, plus the extra 6 or so to get it out of the holster. It's it's in reality is still already completely different than what you're used to. So
Yeah,
even
yeah,
that
you're.
by training.
Yeah, so you just got to be kind of like realistic about like, hey, it doesn't really. I mean, it's all the same. Like you're gonna have to adjust if you have some training, you're gonna have to adjust for how you're gonna carry in the backcountry, anyways. Um, dude, I have my own opinion on this, but I'd love to hear yours. And some of my experience with it might be individual to me, so I don't want to kind of taint the water right off the bat. But I saw that you guys put out a bino harness holster,
Mhm.
or what is it called, Tim?
It's called the guide.
Okay. So, and it attaches to your bino harness. And historically, man, I have swapped between the two styles of holster. Pistol on a chest holster like your Recon, underneath my bino harness, and then having the holster attached to my. I've used the FH. Are you familiar with FHF,
Yeah,
FHFs? like their plate that they put on their harness.
Yep.
I've used that a fair amount. But I, I have my own thoughts on it. Do you have like what are the pros and cons of each, man? And like why would a guy use one over the other? Is it just personal preference? Is there actual reasons? Like what's your thoughts on that?
Great question. Happy to answer. So it comes down to personal preference, is what it seems to be, based off what we've received. When it comes to the Bino bag and the holster, so like let's use the Recon. That's the independent chest holster system, not attached to a Bino bag at all. That system works exceptionally well, and it works exceptionally well even underneath the Bino bag. And we've got tens of thousands of customers who run the Bino bag on over top of the Recon at this point.
Yeah.
For that particular scenario. And it works exceptionally well because it's an independent system. It's very tight to the chest. It flexes with your body. It moves with you, but does not cause you any interference, which allows you to draw the pistol from behind it at any time you want to. So there's that. There is a level of folks, rightfully so, who don't want to, who can't get their mind past the fact that it's stacked. So we got to get past that. And the industry has been, we get past that by attaching something to the bottom of the Bino bag. Well, the Bino bags usually, for the most part, are designed to do what? Hold binos. And they have a pouch you can get for a rangefinder, your calls, or whatever else, right? You can attach to it. Well, you add weight to that system, doing all those things, minus the pistol, right? So it's relatively designed for binos, etc. When you add the weight of a pistol, it usually ends up being dragging you down, it pulling down forward. It causing issues for a lot of customers in that regard. Number two issue I have with the Bino bag or with the Bino bag having a holster directly attached to it is it flops around and moves around for the most part. And it just creates a lot of a distance of a connected device constricting you. I'll correct you, Cliff, and the guide system does not attach to the Bino bag at all. It's
Okay. Yeah.
completely.
And so yeah, dive into that, Tim. Just so the viewers know, like I don't have one. I haven't tried. I've only used the ones from other companies. So go ahead and explain that, please.
Yeah. So like I was saying, like the Bino bag and a holster attached directly to it, instead of being like everybody else and just trying to, put another spoke in the wheel when we need to get another wheel or an axle or whatever, right? We need to create a better solution because the solution so far has been attach them to the bottom. And there's a lot of issues with that. A lot of people like the idea because in their head, it looks good. It looks like it solves their problem. But I have gotten so many people who tell me how they get nauseous, how it beats their stomach, and it's extremely uncomfortable. It flops and moves around because it sways on a hinge. And it drives people crazy when they get into it. Or if it's a cloth holster, the button will come unsnapped and it can fall out.
It's interesting that you say the nausea because I didn't want to say that off the bat to like I don't want people to read that in like some unique thing that I have is like why I don't wear one, but they make me sick. Like, and it's something about I don't know what it is, Tim. Like I'll have to try your guys's. But if I have like I can carry a Glock 19 weight pistol that way. The minute I get any heavier, it makes me nauseous. It's really odd.
Yeah, I think it's just that hinge effect of it constantly whacking on your stomach.
Like just pushing on the top, like right at the bottom of your sternum / like stomach there. All right, guys, I'm doing an epic giveaway on September 17th during a live Q&A on my YouTube channel. All the details are at pursuitwithcliff.com/fill your freezer. No dashes, no spaces. pursuitwithcliff.com/fill your freezer. This thing is epic. I've got a full hunt in there with me. I'm going to be guiding you. A custom rifle, custom stock, a bunch of epic optics. Gafaro is hooking up the winner with a full pack system, a bunch of other gear, guys. Go check it out. Enter. I'll catch you guys there.
We get this question hundreds and hundreds of times, right? Thousands probably just for this particular thing. When you guys going to do this? When you guys do this? Can you make this? Can you make this? And I didn't want to just plug and play like everybody else is doing because I've gotten the other side of it of hundreds and thousands of people saying the problems they have with that system. So we completely designed a new system called the Guide, and it works similar to the Recon, and it's completely independent. It's actually a more or less buckle-free design. So like the Recon's got buckles and stuff. We eliminated 70% of the buckles on it. But what it does is it drops down below the Bino harness, which can create the illusion that it's attached to it, which it's not. So it has the same strap system, wide straps as the Recon, so great weight distribution. It's got a plate that the holster attaches to, which it comes that way, and you can adjust the tilt, the angle, however you want for however you want to draw, just like you would if you had it underneath your Bino bag. But like I say, it's completely separate. So when you drop your pack or you drop your Bino bag when you've got an animal or you're at camp, starting a fire, whatever it is, you still have the same benefits of a Recon, having it separate system and always on you. And also on top of the like nauseous thing or the swaying back and forth, it drops down low, sits over your stomach, and then connects to your pack belt or your personal belt on your pants to keep it secure from swaying or moving all around. And the way we've designed it, similar to the Recon, it doesn't flop, move around, shift. You set it, you forget it, and it's always there. So.
Okay, I gotcha. That makes sense. I mean, I look forward to trying it because I'll be honest with you, Tim. Like my experience with like the lower, and who knows, like maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. But my experience with the lower carry, I don't, I've like steered away from it. So I'm looking forward to trying it because I wonder if like, I'm curious if those changes are going to solve that for just me as an individual. But one thing you mentioned in there that I think is really interesting because I get a lot of pushback on it too, and I get it from like a people's observations, just like seeing content or whatever online. The chest holster, like you've got it up there, and then you got your Bino harness on top of it. It looks like it's way less comfortable than it actually is. Like I always tell people like you gotta actually try it because I understand the intuition that it looks like a mess. You know what I mean? Like you got like the pistols under all this shit that you already got there. But I have actually found that it's kind of helpful in a sense. Like I'm a pretty like scraggly guy. So another issue I've had with the lower hold, but just these kind of things in general, is that there's no like I don't want a lot of movement when I pull the pistol out. And that Bino harness actually kind of makes it so like you're literally grabbing a hold of something that's like rock solid because you've got the harness on there too. But just in general, it's a lot more comfortable than people think. And I don't know how to describe that other than like you've got to try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it kind of boils down to that. We can do our best to educate that it isn't going to be a problem, but at the end of the day, they got to pull the trigger, no pun intended, to try it. And that is the literal response we get from the thousands and tens of thousands of our customers is that right there. Is like they get it and they always say we were a little skeptical because we weren't sure about the gear combination, but like,
Sure.
oh my gosh, it works just like you said it would, blah, blah, blah. And we get it on repeat every day, every single day we get those comments.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hear because like as a business owner, as an entrepreneur and someone who's built the products and built this whole thing, it's really great to hear consistent positive feedback, how I'm solving people's problems and how they're happy and excited and upbeat about how like now they're worry free about not being able to have a handgun and having it accessible, and then and it's extremely comfortable. And I love hearing it because it's it's reassuring because like I want to make sure you're taking care of your clients is my biggest focus, and so it's good.
Yeah, sure. And it's always one of those things that the intuition about it is one thing, and then it's the actual results different. It's kind of the inverse to the belt thing, right? The belt thing seems intuitive that it would work. The chest thing seems intuitive that it wouldn't work. It'd be too complicated. There's too much shit going on in your chest. But it's like the inverse is actually reality. You know what I mean? So it's interesting in that regard. And then I have a question on that, Tim, and I've dealt with this a little bit in the past. Is it fair to say that your guys' chest rig is differentiated to some extent, that it's a little more interchangeable? Do I have that right? Like if I have a can you explain that like nuanced difference?
For sure. There are other options that allow you to swap out holsters. What's beautiful about our design is right out the gate, it's completely serviceable on every location. And a lot of the other options, a lot of the parts are secured permanently, and they are not allowed to service any kind of part of it. So you can swap out the holster shell at any given moment's notice by a couple clicks of some buckles. Is kind of the main deal. The comfort of the product is next to no one, and the way we've got it to where it's super tight and it flexes with your body via our leather connection points was a big differentiator for us. That's how we started. Is taking care of the hot spots and the flexing issues that the
All right, dude.
For.
I believe you, but I'm gonna have you walk me through this. So hold on here, dude. And everybody who's watching this, bear with me, because this is like, I have not done this preemptively with Tim or an employee or anything like that. So Tim, the connection here, let me get rid of the gun. All right, so what you're talking about is like if I just want to change the kydex, it has these buckles, right?
Yeah. So when we build the product and the extra holsters for it, it literally comes with the buckles that you see, the female side buckles that you're taking off right now.
Yeah.
It comes just like that.
So if I buy one of these for a Glock and then one for a 10 millimeter, or excuse me, like a X10 or whatever, this is going to be what's completely different. This is what I'm buying.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. And then the harness is separate. Okay. So, and then the other component you're talking about is that these leather attachments.
Yep. That's one of our big staples. Next to the strapping system is the leather connection point. So that's buffalo hide leather, and it solves everyone's problem with hot spots and pinching, binding up, and allows us to have the holster exceptionally tight, unlike anybody else can do.
Okay, I got you. So that makes sense. I mean, I'll admit, like I haven't had an issue. I mean, like yours when I got it. I mean, even in the past on chest holsters, admittedly, like I haven't had a sizing problem. But I'm also like a certain body type, right? With yours, I just threw it on, snugged it up, like, oh, works. You know what I mean? Fits well. But I could see how how that makes sense. And you can change the angle of the kydex on your own.
You can. So you can take those screw holes. This is actually an absolutely good point, which is definitely our own thing. You can take and move those the buckle system on those screw holes anywhere you want, and change the cant however you like.
Okay, all right. So a guy can bump it around these holes right here.
That is correct.
Like
Yep.
fairly intuitive. Even a guy like me could figure that out. And then you got like a little tension screw. Is this
Yep.
is what I'm looking at here? Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That is your adjustment on the fly for how well you want it to fit or how tight you want it to fit. And what's really important too is like with those leather connection points, if you notice they're a swivel, they can move and rotate on the fly. So you've got the rotation of moving it around those eye holes with the bolts, and then you can take in that also allows you, because it can swivel, which I don't think anybody else can boast this, is you can switch shoulders, right? So you can dramatically shift the cant of the holster just by switching shoulders, and the holster moves with that shift.
Oh, dude, explain that to me one more time, Tim. I'm sorry. Dude.
Yeah. So, for example,
okay, so I've got my holster like this.
Yep.
It's gonna be like this orientation,
just like it is. If you switch shoulders, now turn it to your right shoulder, the top buckle.
If I turn it this way.
No, turn it like clockwise. Yeah, like that. So go take that top buckle. That's where it would sit normally.
Yeah, okay.
And then rotate it on your chest to that top buckle with the logo on it. The other one. The one with the logo.
This one?
Take it to the opposite shoulder. See how that dramatically shifts the cant? You can go back a little bit. That's a little dramatic.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got you. If I can move this, move this buckle.
You don't even have to move the buckle, but the way the buckle's set up, you can move just the strap. So you go from here to the other side.
I see. Okay. All right, dude. So this is. I'm sorry. I know this is probably frustrating to you, dude. You're over there trying to, But here's the deal. I see. Okay, I got. Well, and dude, clockwise to you is not clockwise to me, man. You know what I mean? So we're all fucked up, but it's all good. So yeah, I got you. So that makes I get it. So I can adjust it to here, and I still have the pistol. Okay, I get what you're saying. And all it is a strap going from here to here.
Yep.
and I don't have to adjust the kydex. I got you. It's not something that I was intuitive to me. That's why I'm that's why I'm like kind of surprised. I get what you're
Yeah.
saying though.
Yeah.
Um,
And what's
nice.
beautiful
And
about
is it a fatigue thing, Tim, or is it just like a fit thing?
it's a fit thing. So like you can move the buck around minutely, or you can have a more dramatic switch just by switching shoulders. What that allows you to do, and because it's set up the way it is, wherever you place it, whatever shoulder or whatever position you have it set on the holster, once it's on you, that's the position it stays in. That's really important. So that's the position it stays in. So this works really well for the Bino bag, right? So it's kind of more of a 45 naturally, the natural position that we have it designed primarily for. You switch shoulders, it puts it basically at a 90. So if you're
Yeah.
running binos, you can position it to where your straps are always free and clear behind a bino bag or a fishing bag, right? You can position it on the fly to match what your situation is. And number two, it stays that position.
Yeah, I gotcha. And that has been, now reflecting on like how I set them up. The only thing I notice, on a new one, like if I get a new kydex or whatever on these, like you have to work a little bit on like your reach in there. And like you're not hitting your straps. It's actually exposed enough where you can get your thumb in there and actually like grab it. That does take like a little fitty. A guy's got to kind of figure that out on his own. And
Yep,
you're just there's a bunch of options that are basically optimized. That is what you're saying.
that's correct.
Yeah, I got you. Good stuff, man. Dude, I gotta put your feet to the flame on this because I'm just curious. Which one are you? Which harness which holster do you use, Tim? And do you got like what caliber and gun do you carry? I'm just curious.
Yeah, straight to the recon. If I'm out in the back country or if I'm out farther than just off a side road or whatever else, I'm running the 10 millimeter Smith & Wesson M&P. Really love that gun. I've had all of the 10 millimeters, the X10s, both versions, the FN 510, Glock 20. I'm stuck on the M&P. Love it. I think it's the most ergonomical variation out there. I like it the best. Super reliable so far. And then it's going to the recon.
Yeah, I got you. What are the dude? Because you have a unique data set because you got all these guys buying these from you, I'm making the assumption here, Tim. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Your clientele who are like quote backcountry hunters, and there's variations of that, right? You probably sell them to guys that are going on 10-day backpack hunts. And then you sell them to guys that are really just like doing long day hunts, but they're still wearing a backpack. They're hunting the backcountry or whatever. So you see that clientele. Um, what are you seeing any shifts in terms of like cartridges or models of pistols?
Yeah, for sure. 10 millimeter is king.
It's dominating, huh?
It's kicking butt. It is the thing. Um,
Yeah, and it's what I mean, I carry a Sig X10, I like it, but there is a constant element in my mind of like, do I need to carry this brick? Because I actually like my Glock 19 better. And then I talked to Austin about it. I'm like, and there's an individual that I know who's like kind of controversial on this. He's a small cartridge guy in general, not just on pistols, on rifles too. Um, and he's got a lot of he's controversial, but he's got a lot of good evidence on what he's doing. He's a very proficient like rifle guy and pistol guy, one of the best dudes I've ever seen. And he's got me convinced a little bit like, hey, you should try some smaller cartridges and really see like, how much quicker you are, how many rounds you can actually put into a moving target, like that sort of thing. So I'm like, there's always this element of like kind of questioning the status quo. Do you have an opinion on that or thought on any of that?
I really do.
Oh, perfect, dude. Perfect.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, as far as bang for your buck, 10 millimeters it. I mean, you get some double tap ammo, some big bore ammo with some high powder count in the proper grain bullet, some lead bullets. You are pushing right to / equal to 357 Magnum with the right loads. Okay, not just your regular plain ammo, of course, but 10 millimeter is great. 9 millimeter is great too. In my opinion, is this, and you kind of touched it, is the biggest one. And I do this. I used to do a lot of trade shows, sportsman shows, and so like boot around, talk to hundreds and thousands of people, I guess, over the years. And this goes back to what I originally said in the beginning of asking the question to try and gain a different pathway of thinking.
Right.
So I'm going to preface this with this. My answer with this: I run into, and still do, the whole 44 mag, big bore revolver, blah blah blah. And bless everyone's heart, I'm not against wheel guns. Wheel guns are neat if you're back in 1890. So,
dude, I am, and I'll be honest with you, Tim. Like when I see somebody carrying them, I'm like, that guy is a glutton for punishment, or he has like a different perspective on life. Cause I do this shit for a living, dude. Like I'm about to start guiding for 100 years, or 100, not 100 years, 100 days. And there's no way in hell I'm carrying a big ass revolver across my chest. Even if it's in your glorious chest holster, dude. It's just a pain in the ass. I mean, it's just like, why? All right, guys, in some of my content, you're gonna see that I've been using this chest holster from Invader Concepts. This is with my 10 millimeter. I also use it with my Glock 19 and even a PMR 30. I'm gonna do a bunch of content here in the next couple months on that around bear defense. It should be interesting. It looks a little awkward to have your gun under your Bino harness, but if you test out all the different variations, it is the best, and you have it on you all the time. I do have a discount code. It's CliffG, and it's for 10% off. Go check them out. Cliff's Hunter. I created this knife from iteration in the field. It has been modified and perfected for the backcountry use case. It is my belief that in terms of all-around knives, this is the last knife that an elk hunter, mule deer hunter, sheep hunter, goat hunter will need to buy. Go check it out on my website, pursuitwithcliff.com. In the top right, click shop, then Cliff's Hunter. All the details are there. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I have like a pretty strong opinion about it.
Yeah, I have a lot, and I do as well, and I'll share it. I have a lot of issues with wheel guns, and the mentality behind the wheel gun is really what I have an issue with, of why people carry it, why they are stubborn on a semi-automatic. So here's number one. Number one, you got round. You don't have as much rounds. You get 6 usually on average, right? You got 5 to 6 if it's a big bore, right? You've got that many rounds on tap. Cool, great. It's not enough. Number two, I get the big stopping power, statement. It's like, okay, well, let me ask you a question. This is what I usually do. Let me ask you a question as far as stopping power goes. Is it fair to say that a 300 Win Mag is a way more sufficient way to take down a charging grizzly? And the answer is, of course, yes, right? So a rifle, a long barrel with plenty of rifling to get the projectile moving at a higher rate of speed with more grains is always better. At the end of the day, there isn't necessarily any more people taking down a grizzly bear with a wheel gun than they are with a semi-automatic. Now, you could probably quote me on this. It's probably a little skewed, but my point in saying that is how, if it's already insufficient, the wheel gun with the 44 mag, if it's already insufficient versus a large bore rifle, we're already behind the curve.
Right.
Okay. So there's that. Number two, we've got the round capacity issue, which I think is a big issue. The 10 mil, the X10, that's 15 rounds plus one on the pipe. Okay. I'm gonna tailgate on that and say we've got 3 times as much, round capacity, which is just 3 times as many opportunities to put something in that, not human, sorry.
Yeah, bear. Yeah. Yeah, or I mean, whatever. I mean,
inside the threat, okay?
Yeah.
And it's already insufficient, so let's get as many rounds in that thing as we possibly can. That's a big one. And on top of that, which is, side to it, is how much more controllable is a semi-automatic handgun versus a wheel gun? Significantly so, right? It's so much more easier to control the X10 with that heavy slide and keep yourself on target. I can put way more rounds in a smaller group with a semi-automatic than I can with a wheel gun, guaranteed, and nobody else can really argue unless you're Jerry Michelard. right? You can't, it's just not a thing. And the reason I say
Yeah,
that is because nobody practices with their wheel gun. Nobody takes out and beats their hand to death shooting 3 rounds out of their 44 mag. They just aren't doing it, right?
yeah.
So you've got a
It,
training thing and all that.
it,
Yeah. Anyways.
Tim, I think it's worth mentioning because I'm not like a high level pistol shooter, but I think a lot of my viewership, like they may only be getting a gun for bear defense or whatever, so they may have like even lower understanding than I do. But there's a significant difference in the recoil, even if hypothetically you had the same cartridge and it was in a revolver. It's going to be significant. It's going to have much higher felt recoil than a semi-auto. Correct?
Yeah, because your hand is like 14 feet below the bore. Like,
Right. Yeah.
you're obviously exaggerating, but like you've got a way higher bore access, et cetera, et cetera. And then if I can
And
continue my rant,
go
one
ahead.
more point is we get this question all the time. I'm sure you've heard it, is the reliability thing, right? Okay, this is not 1970, and semi-automatics work exceptionally well these days,
Right.
even the cheap. I love the question that I always get of, well, I only carry a wheel gun because I get more power and they never fail. Well, that's flipping false. Like, it's so not true. Like, if you look at a wheel gun, what consists in a wheel gun? You've got a barrel, and what's right here in front of the hammer? Cylinder. Is that cylinder completely exposed, completely open? Can you look on the other side of that cylinder and see the end, see those bullets sitting there?
Sure.
Can you? Yes, you can. Okay. Can you see gas between the barrel and the cylinder and the firing pin / hammer portion? Can you see gaps there? Yes, you can. You drop that in the mud.
Yeah.
Where's that mud
Yeah.
going? Is it going those places? Okay,
Sure.
let me ask you a question. If there's a mud filled up in the cylinder right in front of that bullet you can visually see, and it rotates in front of the barrel, is there going to be problems with that, Cliff? I think
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
answer is
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, and again, dude, like, I don't think that you're like it's the nature of like shitting on people or whatever, but there's these weird psychological things we do, Tim. And I like like an analogy, dude, is like I have a 45-70, a guide gun. It looks cool. It'd be like really fun to shoot like T-Rexes with it or whatever. And when I go to Alaska, lots of the guides up there carry it. And it's like kind of wild because my biggest fear is that that thing goes in the mud because I don't know how to take it apart. Like,
yeah.
but like just my normal bolt rifles, like I could take them, I could strip those puppies down to a million, like every little bolt in 30 minutes and put them completely back together. But still, a lot of guys like those lever guns, and I'm like, man, like, and it's the same. It's just like it's a weird psychological thing we do. You know what I
It's
mean?
it's a psychological conundrum. The guides in Alaska have been carrying wheel guns since forever, so therefore I must. Well, that's all they had. You know,
Sure,
your granddad was a cop during the Prohibition, and he carried a Smith and Wesson Model 29. Well, yeah, because that's all they had.
sure.
It doesn't make it true today. We have advanced technology. Have you seen an Apache helicopter recently? They're a pretty
Right.
bad piece of equipment that's very technologically advanced. We've done similar things with the firearms industry and firearms. We're okay. We can adjust.
Yeah, yeah. Well, dude, I think the other thing though is there's like this element because I deal with it all gear with hunters. Like, there's a difference, Tim, between like a guy. This is my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. A guy he's 55 years old. He's been guiding in Alaska his whole life. There's a difference between his decision making process and a guy who he's going on his first elk hunt in the Wyoming wilderness or the Montana wilderness. You have two different like your worlds are completely different because you're a blank slate. The guy who's been doing it with his equipment for 30 years, he has a legitimate argument to say like, hey, it may not be optimal, but it's what I've been using. I know how to take care of it. I know how to use it. I know how to keep it clean. Like, sure, maybe I should adapt a little bit. That's a different argument, right? But when you're a blank slate, you gotta kind of like you should really like assess what's currently available and like what's optimal. At least that's my thought is you can get distorted, and I deal with it myself, dude. Guys will ask me about packs or little nuanced things, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, but I'm not the guy to ask because honestly, like probably a guy who's just been elk hunting for a couple years, who's been really optimizing his gear, he's probably got a better answer for you because he's up to speed on all the new shit. You know what I mean? So there's a weird informational gap there. I don't know if any of that makes sense to you.
It makes perfect sense, and I completely agree. I'm never going to argue with the Alaskan trappers been doing it for 30 years, and that's his lifestyle, and that's what
Sure.
he's known, and that's what he's good with, and knows how to deal with it. Never going to argue with him because that works for him. And he's been doing it for so long. He's got the miles under his belt to back it up. But to your point, clean slate or fresh slate or 2 years old slate, he's
Yeah.
you need to use technology to your advantage because you just don't have the reps, and most people don't have the reps. So let's use what's the easiest to use, gives you the best bang for your buck, no pun intended again, on your ability to succeed. So I think a lot of it, part of it too, is like everyone wants to be a guy, Mr. Trapper, or everybody wants to be a Navy SEAL. So they want to wear all
Yeah,
the gear
sure.
and they want to look the part, right? But at the end of the day, they're just shooting airsoft and they ain't doing jack shit. So it's like, can you pick one?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. No, no, I hear you. And that's yeah, it's a funny world that way. And it's, all and it's funny cuz I always relate it to the hunting world cuz it's the world that I live in, the world that a big part of your customers are in, but it's in all,
It's everywhere.
yeah, yeah, that's just how our human brain works. But Tim, I want to talk to you a little bit about like your entrepreneurial journey and stuff, but just for maybe like 10 to 15 minutes if you've got the time, because I find that stuff very interesting. I think a lot of my viewers do too. But anything else on the product stuff, technical stuff, any of that that you'd like to share, or do you feel like we got it covered?
I feel like we got it covered. Everyone who's listening, make sure you give the brand a follow. We've got a lot of new products that we're dropping to help solve more issues that people are having, and we've touched the guide is our latest launch of a product. We covered that. I'm happy with that. Everything else, we'll launch it as it goes. I don't want to spoil anything or speak
Is
too
it
soon.
I this may not be a fair question to ask Tim, but is it holster related, or are you guys like thinking about different categories?
It is holster related. We are definitely got stuff in the pipe for different categories. So we're in a position now to where we can start solving more problems for more people in more avenues of firearms. So
Cool.
yeah, so we got stuff coming out for different things for sure.
Sweet.
I'll give you a little sneak peeks. Like, there might be something coming for bear spray or your Garmin InReach or your Kestrel, or I kind of spoiled it,
Yeah, I
but
got you. Sure.
on
Yeah,
purpose
yeah,
though. That's what I was
yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah.
But like, there's lots of stuff coming to help alleviate, like we're talking about, people's problem getting their gear, dialed in to where it works exceptionally well for them.
Yeah.
So we got stuff coming in that
Dude, I'll
regard.
give you a business idea, and you can completely ignore it because maybe it's dumb, but it goes back to a point you said. Um, the capacity of pistols matters, but the capacity of rifles matters too. And it's just something that I don't think it's very like and this is going to come across as like asinine slash egotistical, Tim, but I can talk to a guy who's carrying 6 rounds on an elk hunt and who tells me that's enough, and I'm immediately in my mind thinking like, you have not hunted very much and you're really naive, like badly naive. Because I don't care how great you are of a hunter, going through 6, 7 rounds, like you're gonna do it eventually on a herd
Mhm.
elk or herd, like that's the reality of it. And I would deal. I mean, I've had to deal with all sorts of weird situations where it's like, dude, you're out of rounds, and it's like, oh yeah, the rest are on the horse. I'm like, dude, the horse is a quarter mile away. Like, what are you talking about, man? So like now it's like in bold letters, like 17 rounds, 16 rounds. I don't care if it's a 300 Win Mag or a 243. I don't give a shit. You got to have 17 rounds of within arm's distance if you're hunting with me. That's kind of my mentality on this subject. But uh, what about mag carriers for rifles, man? Like a Tika mag holder, something like that. Have you guys ever thought about that sort of thing?
Yeah, we have. Not actually that specific. It's a good point. And I'll look into it. And the reason I will is we have like AICS profile mag carriers. We've
Oh,
taken
sure.
it. We got to relaunch it. We've taken it off. There's reasons why, but we just don't sell them currently. But
Yeah.
like we have CS profile mags, so it's pretty popular.
Yeah,
Not
sure.
Positica or whatever else. That's a really good point. We can
Because it's like the reason I bring it, I'm not to like have a in-depth conversation on the business front or whatever, and I have no idea if it's a great market size of market or whatever for you, Tim. But it's like I kind of feel like with my pistol, I'm probably I'm carrying high capacity pistols, right? So I'm probably gonna empty a mag, and that's probably it, and like at least in my mind. But having like an extra Tika mag on my harness or something like that, really accessible. And I hate to say it because people will bust my balls for it, but it's kind of the same thing with the pistols. There are times where I've ended up away from my pack, even away from my Bino harness, when I'm like in some thick shit with trying to find an animal or whatever, and having like my rifle magazines, like it's something on like on a harness that's always on me would be cool. Might be just me. I might be the only buyer, dude.
yeah, yeah, and like we don't need to sell a million of something to make it a success. At the end of the day, it's not about how many can I sell. I mean, things go into factor, of course. Yeah, do we need to be profitable on it? Of course we do. We're not here to for
Sure.
charity. Um, but like it doesn't need to be a top selling product if it solves enough people's problems. Like if you're the only one, Cliff, well, that's you're kind of stuck. But, but if there's 1,000 people out there that have that same concern, then we could easily solve it for them. And
Yeah. No, I
to
got
do.
you. Good stuff, man. Well, dude, you mind talking about like the business front for 10 minutes or so?
Yeah.
Dude, tell me the story, because my perception, Tim, is you came out of nowhere, in like 2 months you were real successful. I'm guessing that's not the story. So
I wish it.
yeah, dude. So do you mind just run me through this
Absolutely.
journey?
I'll try to do the Cliff Notes version. I'll preface anything I'm about to say with this. Running a business and building a substantial, real business, a real brand, and real American manufacturing is not fucking easy.
Sure.
And by anyone's means. And, as a kid, and I've done it as a kid, but as an adult, as an entrepreneur, I don't do this. But I know most people look at people like me and they go, oh, well, it must be nice. Or, oh, wow, you're so successful. And it's like, and they think it's so easy. Everyone looks at their boss and they're like, oh, they have such a cake job. They get to do whatever
Sure.
they want. No, we don't. And you don't know how long that person worked with
Right.
nothing. So I started in 2016. Well, that's when I filed a legitimate business license in 2016. So I've been at it for 10 years, basically. And I started I had the issue like with the Recon. Like I saw that was the first product was the Recon. And because I had that problem, I had other problems too, because I did a lot of shooting and stuff like that. I did a lot of hiking around and hunting in those days. And I wanted to solve that problem. So when I started, I literally was like, I had a problem. I don't think anyone else can seem to fix it. And I was always been entrepreneurial. I've always been like doing random stuff, like,
Yeah, sure.
starting stuff, even as a child. Like, I used to, as a kid, as a 12-year-old kid, I used to go out at night and collect night crawlers and sell them by the baker's dozen
I got you.
on the side of the road. Like I always did stuff like that. So I always knew I was meant for entrepreneurship because it's always just been in my heart and in my soul. And so I took a dive with this. It started with just me literally ordering Kydex and like ordering screws and this and that, and cutting up the foam mat that's in your kitchen and using that as a press. Literally went like this to start. Oven in the kitchen, using it to heat the material, stinking up the entire house.
Yeah.
Cutting up the mat that's the rubber mat that people have in their kitchen, cutting it up and heating the material, taking a gun, sandwiching it with that heated material that was so egregious the way I did it, wrapping it in that foam, and then sitting on it in a chair, and then grabbing the bottom of the chair to press my ass into it to act as a press. Like that's how I started. It was like
Sure.
trying to figure it out. So, and then now where we're at now. But from there, we started in 2016. Like I said, I've moved the business too many times, location wise. But it started with just an idea and a dream of American manufacturing, and so I started making them on my own, trying to figure out how to market, trying to figure out all the stuff, which has taken a long time to figure out. So I'm not sure. It's hard for me not to get into details.
Yeah. So one question I have, and this is totally self-serving, Tim, like where did you find the steps of like acceleration for you? Were there things you fit? Because this is like, I've had several businesses in my life too. Some of them like service businesses, little product things, whatever. But I've always found that it's very easy to get, at some point during your entrepreneurial journey, you get bogged down in like you as an individual. All you do is work all day, maybe sitting on holsters, making them all day, and you can only put out so many or whatever. Like, how did you how did you pop through like some of those moments where it's like you kind of like pop in stages? And at least my observation from an outsider is it seems like in the last few years you've popped through one of those stages. Is there any tricks to it, or do you have any thoughts?
This is the only trick. You got to be a stubborn motherfucker.
Yeah.
You've got to be stubborn as hell and stick to your guns. And man, that's a third pun.
Yeah.
You got to. I mean, that it sounds simple. It's the hardest thing to do. It's like a relationship. It's like anything. If you don't stick with it, you're fucked from the get go. And on top of that, you've got to have an adjustment mentality. You got to be able to adjust and pivot. You got to be able to take shit and still keep trucking. So the secret sauce, and you're right, I'm going to touch on the stages. It goes in stages, and that's what I've learned anyways. It goes in stages. But like up until 2 years ago, I mean, we were growing, and I tell you what, it is. You just got to be stubborn. It's because like you're going to run into every single roadblock and every single thing telling and you just have to push through it. Because I went through the last 8 years broke as hell.
Yeah, sure.
With no money in the bank and negative, and I literally, as everyone seems to say this, but I literally almost filed for bankruptcy. Like it was on the table. $60,000 in debt, $100,000 in debt. Here, you get out of that one, then you get screwed again, and you get bogged up again, and you're back in the hole. And it's the aptitude of adapting and pivoting and moving and being stubborn. You take those two things, you put it together, and you can be successful. Make something substantial over time.
Sure.
But I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, I think it does, dude. I mean, it's like it's the same thing I've noticed in my stuff is like at some point you got to keep like just grinding through certain obstacles, and the other thing is you learn each time, so like the next round you get a lot better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the mindset. If you don't want to learn, like most business owners, they're stubborn in a lot of the wrong ways. They're not willing to adapt. They're not willing to listen to constructive criticism. Their ego is too big, and for no reason, because they're and that's what I see, and that's we can all be egotistical. I'm definitely guilty of it, but I can get screamed and yelled at. I can get chewed out. It's like in Glorious Bastards, that scene where it's like, oh, Mike get chewed out. I've been chewed out before. It's like I can take a hit and find the lesson in it. That is a huge benefit. If you can't find any lessons, if you do something and it doesn't work and you fail and you lost $60,000, it's like, okay, well, that didn't work. Right? This is simple, but like this doesn't happen. That didn't work. Okay, why didn't it work? Let's try something different.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta adjust. Yeah.
A lot of people seem to find a relative success in business, and then they stagnate and they sit and they think that what they know is best. And I think I can confidently say that my team, which is the main reason that we're successful, is they can bring something to me, and I can take their information, or I could take their critique or whatever else, or their opinion. I'm very strict, and I have what I want done, and have done how I want it. But I'm not stuck on, well, if I put a holster together this way, this is important. It may sound simple. This is important. I may put together a holster one way. Okay, that's great. That doesn't mean that other individual has to put together the exact way that I do it. As long as they put together the way it's supposed to be at the end, and the quality is there, and you can do it in a relatively same time frame that I can, then you're in. And allowing your constituents to have ownership in what you're doing, I think, is really key as well. And allowing yourself to be convinced or pitched on something, allow yourself to receive someone else's opinion or viewpoint on a matter, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know everything.
and I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying, Tim, because like the nature of entrepreneurship is that like most entrepreneurs are pretty intense micromanagers. So I think a lot of people probably listen to what you're saying. They're like, what is this guy talking about? Like, of course you'd let your employees like do it their way if the result was the same. But if you're not an entrepreneur, like you don't understand how hard that is. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
like that's like the perspective difference. And it's like it's really freaking hard. Like really hard. You know what I mean? Because you've been developing a system. This is like your thing. So, and I think that's like that's the big grind of entrepreneurship, right? That's why people can be innovative and make cool products, but that's also why they tend to get where they're working. They're a lot of entrepreneurs end up working for $5 below minimum wage just to make a living because they can't adapt like you're saying and continue to like grow their products beyond a certain point. You know what I mean? So I think it's a very good point, man. I totally get what you're saying. Guys, I've been using Onyx Maps for almost 2 decades now, hunting, guiding, outfitting. It is the gold standard tool when it comes to mapping software in the hunting world. They've been a huge supporter of my content for multiple years. So if you want to support me and you want to support them, use my code CliffG for 20% off at onyxmaps.com. It is an awesome tool that I use all the time when I'm preparing for hunts, and I use it almost every single day in the field. For navigation, knowing unit boundaries, knowing private land boundaries, it is the tool you have to have.
Delegation is hard. Because the reason it's so hard, like you're saying, the reason is because your ass is on the line.
Yeah,
You're
sure.
the one responsible for everything that goes right and goes wrong, and it's gonna go wrong. And you're gonna who's taking the hit for the $60,000 negative? I am. The entrepreneur, like, you're taking the hit. So it's understandable why you want to be micromanaging, but like that's where the evolution of delegation and trust in your constituents to partner with the mission and do it on your behalf, right?
Sure.
And as long as you can try to evolve as a leader and do better and better and better as far as your communication and how you treat them and how you talk to them, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you're going to have to chew somebody's ass out once in a while, and I think that's proper. I think that needs to happen. But trusting and delegating and letting it go as far, because that's the only way you grow, right?
Yeah, sure.
And if you're a contractor and you build houses, or you're a landscaper, right? It's only, it's like, like for guiding, for example, like who else but you?
Yeah, it's a real problem.
The guy, right? You can, but like there requires, like, can you imagine, like, if you had somebody guiding for you on your behalf, like how much trust?
Yeah. Well, dude, here's the thing is like, I'll comment on that one because, the hunting world and the guiding and outfitting world, I can say there's a universal truth that I picked up on early, Tim, and you might have a thought on this. Very few guys, it's very scale limited for the reason you're talking about, right? Because guys generally can never move beyond themselves, right? And it's really hard to do that because like the nature of it, and it draws in like a certain type of personality type too, but the nature of it is that you think you're the best. And so when you hire somebody, or you got guides working for you, there's just your psychology is that I'm the best. They need to do it like me. And man, the only reason that I was like financially successful in the guiding world, and this goes for, I mean, I hate to say it, dude, but there's only like a half a dozen dudes that I know in the hunting world, like the service side, that have ever made any money. And they all went down this path. They figured out how to hire guides that they knew were better than they were, or they knew they could make them better than they were. If that makes any sense. Like I got to the point where I had like before I sold my business, of like the 10, 15 guides I had working for me, I could solidly say that like 8 or 9 of them were better guides, better hunters than me, and the rest of them were just a couple years away from it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's like it's hard for me to say it now, dude, because I'm an egomaniac. No, there's no guy that gets into that world that isn't. But that's the trick. You know what I mean? Like that's the trick is you have to be willing to do that. You know. So, anyways, it's kind of an aside, but it's
You got to be
related.
able to do that. But you got to be willing to create the environment to where you can attract and have those types of
Yeah,
individuals.
yeah, sure.
That, like, you can sit here and wish in one hand, shit in the other, the old time tale. Like, if I want the best guides and this, that, and the other thing. It was like, well, if you're an asshole, no one wants
Yeah,
to work
yeah,
with
yeah.
and you're never going to get past that point. Like, you have
Right.
to have an environment to where, uh, that's what you attract. And that is exceptionally hard because you've got to do a lot of self development.
Oh yeah, 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 big time, man, for sure. Dude, the last thing I want to ask you about, Tim, and then I'll let you go. I want to ask you about the U.S. made part of your business because I personally just working with companies. Um, I think it's real important. I think just like intrinsically, I think it's an important thing. I try to buy stuff that's U.S. made, but I've also worked with different companies that have gone down that path. And I'll be honest with you, I've had over time I've developed maybe a little bit nuanced perspective on it because my perspective is that it's great to be U.S. made, but you still got to make really good stuff. You know what I mean? And I think there's some challenge. I think there's not everybody has gone down now that path with this with that. So I guess with teeing it up that way, what are your feelings on the USA made thing? Like, what is it? Maybe explain like the difficulty involved in that too.
Yeah, I can handle that. The USA made thing. There's two things. You've got, as far as like how it's delivered, you have the actually United States made, right, products. Then you have the other side of people who are assembling stuff in the United States and saying it's USA made. So like there's a lot of people get burned and are frustrated with USA made, and they have that question in their head of like, is it actually USA made? And and I understand that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then like
Sure.
saying the quality, it's like, these freaking things I bought that says USA made. I'm like, this thing's a sack of garbage.
Sure.
And there needs to be some better pride with manufacturers or people who are assembling stuff and putting the USA made stamp on it of actually providing a solid product, because the United States we have the pride of, or we're supposed to have the pride of, we're the bee's knees. We lead. We're the leaders here. And if you're going to put that stamp on it, you got to be the best.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then you need to go sit in the back. So, and the other side is like for us specifically, is USA made is exceptionally important to me. And it's not, I will never cut corners, never have. I have more, I pay more for my stuff uh, versus a profit. I literally do, and I have the receipts to prove it. Everything that I make is made here in this shop. And not only that, this is huge, and I'm really proud of it, is almost, I can't say 100%, but almost all, 90 plus percent of our raw goods are sourced domestically. In other words, the webbing is made in the United States. The threading is made in the United States. The kydex is made in the United States, so on, the leather, so on and so forth. And because it's really easy to buy cheap webbing and buy cheap synthetic products and buy cheap stuff and put it together and sew it up here in the States and say it's USA made. And technically, according to the regulations, that is USA made. But
Right.
I'm going a step further and using United States resources. And Really proud of it. It's not easy. The only thing I can't seem to source is screws, like the little posts and screws, and like that's basically it. I think I think that's actually it. It's just the screws, maybe like one of the washer pieces or something like that.
Well,
But
dude,
everything's made.
I've had this discussion with a lot of people, Tim, like including some people who are like, what's the military certification? What's it called? Um,
Uh, GSA,
Berry compliant.
yeah.
And I've talked to them about like the nuances of like what that means, and like how I don't think like the American consumer understands that like getting a zipper that's USA made versus one that's foreign or something, like how drastically more difficult that is. You know what I mean? Just like those little nuanced things.
Yeah, it's like things that are like mil spec or very compliant. The United States military or government, as far as purchasing, they have a quota, and it's like 80. Don't quote me on this, but it's more than three quarters. They have to buy from, if not all, from the United States
Right.
and made here, which I think is the correct thing to do. So things that are labeled as Berry compliant or mil spec, they're made in the United States more or less.
Sure.
And which just makes them that much harder to get, that much more expensive, et cetera. So
Yeah, it just is what it is. But it's interesting. I think it's a little more nuanced than people think. I guess what I should say is I think that people people assume that going American made is just it's just a financial decision that Tim has made versus marketing. He's thought, okay, his cost is going to be a little bit higher, but it's a good marketing point for him, right? And I think that's how most people think about it. I don't think they factor in like the giant pain in the ass factor. It is harder for you to run a business that's American made also.
so much.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I gotta manage employees. I gotta manage all this inventory. I gotta manage all these suppliers, which change constantly because they can't keep up, or the military comes in and swoops up all my inventory, and I go find somebody else. And it's just not easy.
Yeah, it's challenge. Yeah, it's not going on Alibaba and ordering whatever.
Yeah, it's
80 holsters and then reselling them, or what,
I want to sell
800.
sneakers. Like I go and have a whole pile of them made in China or wherever, and just sell them, right?
Yeah.
Like I can do that. I can market. I could sell a product like that, but I made the conscious decision of American made before I used it to help with marketing, before any of those things, because it's what was in here, right? I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to live here. I'm thankful that I was born here and I'm one of the United States citizens. And I'm not willing to pass the buck over and take it cheap, like all these corporate places do these days. It's like I'm not willing to sell out. And I don't know. It's just ingrained in me, I guess. It's just, it's just who I am.
Yeah, no,
To start with, like before I made a cent, that's how I started. Before I made a cent, I was like, I'm buying stuff, and it was already ingrained in me. I had to be American.
Yeah, you wanted to stick to that. Good stuff, dude. Well, I've taken enough of your time, Tim. Thanks for coming on, man. Where can give the rundown on social media stuff, website, all of that, just so people know where they can keep track of you.
Yeah, Invader Concepts is the name. InvaderConcepts.com on the website. It'll always pop up. Doesn't matter how you search it. And Invader Concepts on Instagram as well. You'll find us there. And if you're a TikTok guy, well, we're not really on TikTok. That was a bad sell. But if we get the TikTok consistently moving, we're not banned at Invader Concepts. So anything at Invader Concepts is going to pop up.
That's where you're at. Nice. I got kicked off TikTok. I think I still have an account on there, but that is a tricky one, dude. But
anyway, to be if you're in the right space, and we're just not in the right space, so we got to be strategic,
Yeah, no, I hear you, dude. Well, thanks a lot, Tim.
Yeah, it's been great, Cliff. Appreciate it.
If you enjoyed this content, do me a huge favor. Subscribe on whatever platform you consume it on. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever works for you guys. Everything else is on my website, pursuitwithcliff.com. Go there and it's going to be very apparent to you that I work my ass off just to not have a real job. All the hunts I guide, all the seminars I put on, all the unique experiences I offer, and the membership site, all the details are there.